It's taken me 20 years to learn what I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes. It's a simple framework that's changed my life forever that I call the 3 C's. You see, the reality is a lot of people think that they just have to put their head down and work really, really hard. Yet so many of them look back after years of doing that, wondering why nothing's working. The reality is if you incorporate the 3 C's that I'm about to share with you in this video, the hard work you're actually putting in will start to multiply in its output and its outcomes in your life. My name is Uriel Kim. I'm the CEO of Healthpreneur. I'm a New York Times bestselling author. And for the past 20 years, I've been building 7- and 8-figure businesses, and I've helped thousands of others do the same. The 3C model I'm about to walk you through has allowed me to live my dream life, pursue my childhood dream of playing pro soccer, helping 500,000 people with better health, becoming a New York Times bestselling author, a decade millionaire by 41, having an amazing family life with my wife and 4 young kids, being in great health even as I get older, and so much more. So if you want to get more out of life, let's dive in. So the first C in the 3C model is clarity. You can't hit a target you don't set. And one of the biggest warning flags for me is when I'm talking to someone and I ask them where they want to be in 6 or 12 months from now, whether it's their personal life or their business, and they answer with something like, you know what, it's a good question, never thought about that, or I'm not quite sure. And it's really unfortunate because people who don't have a clear vision simply end up getting swept through life. And then they look back and wonder why things haven't gone their way. The reality is that if you don't cast the sail and you don't cast the vision for your life, life will simply throw you where, it wants you to end up. So clarity is imperative. I often tell my clients the clearer you are, the faster you'll go. Think about driving in a fog. It's a really, really foggy day out there. And how confident are you to drive the car fast or at the speed limit even in that kind of thick fog? Not very confident. So what happens? We slow down the pace, we're inching our way through the fog, and we eventually get where we want to go. But think about driving on a clear day, beautiful blue skies, you can see right into the horizon. Now you can drive the speed limit. Now you can put your foot down on the throttle and you got way more confidence. And you go from A to where you want to go so much faster. And it's the same thing in life, and it's the same thing in business. When you are clear about what you want, your brain starts to put things into place for you to make that happen. Now, here's the thing, is that you don't necessarily have to know how to do it. You just have to know that you want to. As an example, with Healthpreneur, my current company, our vision is to transform the lives of more than 1 billion people, help them become the healthiest version of themselves, and ultimately really empower themselves to live a much better quality of life. We're going to do that by helping health practitioners build better businesses so that collectively they can help more people and so forth and so on. But if you ask me, how are we going to reach 1 billion people? I have no idea. I don't know, because how am I supposed to know how to get where I've not been yet? All I can do at this stage of the game is get clear about where I want to go. And I know that this will be a brand that outlasts my lifetime. It'll be the Coca-Cola of health, obviously a better healthy connotation, and it'll be a household name. That's the clarity. That's the vision that I have, but I have no idea how we're going to get there. All I can do is take one step at a time, cast my vision of what we're going to do over the next quarter, and then we just keep building the bridge as we cross it. So as an example, when I was young, I think about 10 years old, my vision was to play pro soccer. That was my life ambition. I'm like, I want to play pro soccer. That was it. So from that age until I was in 19, all I did was pro soccer. I gave up trips, I gave up jobs, I obviously focused on school, but still I was training and playing all the time. I had this clarity, I could see myself on the field, I could see myself performing in front of tens of thousands of people in a stadium. And I was very fortunate to have had that opportunity. And this is actually interesting how it came about. Again, I didn't know how I was going to make this happen other than what I can control, which is just doing my best to train and get better. When I was 19 years old, I got a call out of the blue. I was a goalkeeper. It was from a goalkeeper coach that I had worked with a few years prior. Out of the blue, he calls me and he's like, hey, would you be interested in playing with the pro team in our city? And I was like, yeah, I'm scared, but yeah. And the reason that happened was one of their goalies got injured. They needed to call someone up, didn't have anyone. So that's where I got the call. But the only reason I was able to get that call was because I put myself in the position to even be remembered and recognized by other people in the know. And so again, there's a lot of different little things that go into that, but the key is getting clear as a starting point of what I wanted. Because when you're clear, it channels all of your energy into that one direction. Very much like a magnifying glass, magnifying the sun's rays. Like you could set fire on a piece of grass. So when you have clarity about what you want in business, what you want in life, what you want your relationship to look like, what you want your health or fitness to look like, when you are clear about that, that's really, really important, because now you can focus all of your energy. The second piece of that, though, is understanding why. Why is it that you want this? Jim Rohn famously says that reasons come first. So when you're clear about what it is you want to really think about why do I want this? So I'm going to give you a couple practical things. Number one, I want you to ask yourself, what do I want? Like, write this down. Take out a sheet of paper and write down, what do I want? And I want you to write a bunch of stuff. In fact, underneath this video, I'm actually going to hook you up with something called the Best Life Number. This is a worksheet that's actually from our Focus Planner. We give this to our clients to help them articulate and clarify what it is that they want in life, and also how much it's going to cost you. So when you think about like car, house, travel, private chef, you're going to map all that stuff out, the stuff that's meaningful to you. And then, to the best of your knowledge, you're just going to write down how much it is or how much you think it might be. And then what that's going to do is it's going to give you crystal clarity about all the stuff you want, at least in the foreseeable future, what it's going to cost you, and then how we can start making that a reality. So what do you want? List all this stuff down. You can download the Best Life Number worksheet beneath this video and just start mapping that out. The second piece of that is, okay, well, why do I want this? And this might take a little bit more reflection to thinking, well, why is it that I want this thing? Hey, listen, like if it's a status thing, if you want to look cool, awesome, great. If you're trying to fill a hole in your soul with something, well, there might be some other stuff you want to work on as well, but that's totally fine. It doesn't matter what your reasons are. The most important thing is that you have reasons. I'll give you one final example before we move to the second C. A number of years ago, when we started our family, my wife and I lived in Toronto, then we moved out of the city because at the time, we didn't have enough money to buy a house to start a family. So we lived in a loft and we moved outside the city to a very small town, 9,000 people. And it was a really nice place to raise our kids at a very young age. But one day, if you live in Canada, you know what I'm talking about. It's like you live in the 3 or 4 big cities and that's it. Like there's small town Canada it's not a good place to live. So one day I get out of my house, I look over my next door neighbor's sitting on his beaten up lawn chair on his porch, wife beater on, big pot belly, beer in hand, pickup truck on the lawn. You get the vibe? And in that moment, I'm like, I am moving as soon as humanly possible. And so that was really the impetus for us to think about, okay, let's move back to the city. Because by this point we had, the business was taken off and I was doing a little bit better. And I'm like, I can't live here. I can't be in this environment anymore. I don't want my kids to be in this surrounding, because we become our environment. And so we started to think about, well, what is the type of house that we want? Like, what does that look like? And we weren't exactly sure. We were like, well, this would be cool, or like this would be nice. And we were kind of indifferent. And it wasn't until we got very clear about what we wanted, we actually started putting together a vision board, and we took images of everything: backyard, bathrooms, office space, living room, front of the house, all the stuff that we thought was the beautiful house or the home that we wanted. And so we created this vision board and we actually put it up in our existing kitchen. And as soon as that happened, things started to fall into place. So our realtor actually let us know about a house that was being built in a really nice area of Toronto, where I had rented a condo to use as a temporary office. So I would drive in a few days a week just to work there and be in the environment in which we actually wanted to live. So while I was there, I walked down the street to check out this house that was being built. And I'm like, well, all I can see is sticks, and it was just sticks, right? I couldn't make sense of it. So a couple months passed, the house finishes, and it's still on the market for sale. And I walked by the house one day and I'm like, oh my God, this is the house we literally had on our vision board. And it was still there. We put an offer in, and ultimately we ended up getting the house. So all of that started to transpire because we got very clear about what we wanted. And what's cool about this is, as our kids got older, I started showing them images of the vision board. And they're like, hey, and I said, hey, does this bathroom look familiar? They're like, yeah, that's your bathroom. I'm like, actually, it's not our bathroom, but it was a bathroom that looked almost identical to our bathroom that was on our vision board. The other cool thing is I had a vision of 4 boys at a long wooden table in a dining room doing schoolwork. Many years later, 4 boys on a long wooden dining room table doing schoolwork. Like we have 4 boys, right? Like, it's just so interesting how When you're clear about something, it starts to really make its way into your world, even if you don't know how it's going to happen. So clarity is number one. So as we finish this first section, and we'll get to the second C in a moment, I want you to once again think about what you want. Second is why you want it. And then use the best life number worksheet below to start filling in those things and the associated price tags so you can really see how close so much of that is and how you can start to reverse engineer how to bring it into your life. Okay, so now the second C is conviction. If you're not where you want to be, it's either you lack clarity, you don't want it badly enough, or there is doubt in the way. In life, you get exactly what you believe you're capable of receiving. So people who achieve really big things in life, at some level, believe they're worth it. And that's why, when we talk about people who are, let's say, brought up in an environment of privilege, where let's say their parents are wealthier, those kids, on average, tend to follow suit because that's what they believe their standard is and their own value is in life. Whereas someone who's brought up in the ghetto and has nothing, they have to do a lot more work to get to that same level of belief. It's not to say that it's impossible, but it's just a lot more work to work through some of that stuff. So when I was growing up and wanting to play pro soccer, in terms of my conviction, I keep referring to this as delusional optimism. I didn't just believe I was a good goalkeeper. In my DNA, I believed I was the best in the country. And to be honest, I would watch pro games on TV and I'm like, I'm better than that goalie. Now, is that true? Probably not, but I believed it was for me. And what that allowed me to do was to keep pushing forward toward my dream, and not from a place of cockiness and arrogance, but I knew that if I could keep practicing and if I could keep improving, that this would keep feeding my conviction, because confidence comes from evidence and evidence comes from practice. So in the nature of sport, I was able to practice and that would reinforce my belief that I was amazing. And then that would build my confidence and conviction, which further led me to keep doing more things in the right direction. In business, as an example, that conviction needs to come from the process more so than the outcome. When you take the mindset of learning and growth as opposed to specific outcomes, you will be so much happier and build your confidence so much more effectively through the process. Because growing a business is a very up and down roller coaster, right? There are moments that are really great and others that are not so great. And you take on a lot of risk and a lot of uncertainty. And to be honest, on average, the ride can feel like shit a lot of the time, if we're focused on the outcome. But if you can really focus on the process and use the process of, I'm going to send a daily email, I'm going to post a piece of content on a daily basis, I'm going to get better as a leader, like wherever you are in your business. And if you focus on the tangible action steps that you can take on a daily basis, and as long as you're getting feedback and learning from those, and you look at learning as winning, because it is, the more you learn, the more you'll earn. The faster you learn, the faster you'll earn. And if we look at it from that lens, it constantly builds your conviction, because now the evidence is the process, not the outcome. But a lot of amateurs in business, they kill their conviction because they're so focused on the outcome. It worked or it didn't. It's black or white. I'm saying, no, you have to live in the gray. And the gray is in the process. As an example with content, I've been shooting videos for 20 years. And I still don't think that I'm where I want to be, right? So I don't beat myself up about a video not doing well. I'm always coming from this place of curiosity to say, okay, well, what worked? How did this video get a better average view duration? Or what resonated most? Like, why did this video get more views? And I'm always trying to learn and deconstruct it, because if I can learn, then I'm like 1% smarter than I was the previous day. And if I can take that learning and then inject it into the next video or the next thing I'm doing, then I'm constantly moving in the direction of bigger things, bigger goals, bigger outcomes. Hey, we'll get back to the video in just a moment, but if you're enjoying this content, hit that subscribe button below. It will help me sleep a lot better at night. But more importantly for you, it'll help you build your dream a lot faster. So go ahead, subscribe, and we'll get back to the show. And so I like to really think about conviction from a business perspective as being obsessed about the process, because that's the only thing you really have control over. That would be like the first piece on the conviction side, is that conviction comes from evidence. Evidence comes from practice, and practice is obviously a very process-driven process. The second thing I want to mention about conviction is that we all talk about things like in the previous clarity section, we talked about what you want. But what you want is actually the last piece in the process. You may have heard be, do, have. What a lot of people focus on is the having. They want the money, they want the stuff, but they don't actually recognize they have to be a different version of themselves to have those results. If you understand that what you have right now is a reflection of who you are, then some people get really upset about that. And those are people who are very fixed-minded, victim-oriented people. They blame everyone else for their circumstance. Growth-oriented people understand that it's like, yeah, like I've created my reality, which also means I can create a new reality, which is awesome. So who do I have to become? Who do I get to become in order to have those things? So question for you to think about is, who do I have to be starting today in order to have what it is that I want? That's question number one. Question number two is that what can I do each day or on a consistent basis to reinforce that self-identity? So I'll just use the example of fitness, for example. So let's say that you're not necessarily in the best shape or the healthiest, okay? So that's status quo, current reality. And you've been a type of person up until now that has had certain patterns or habits that have created this, okay? But you can turn things around like this, but not by doing what you've been doing and not by being who you've been being. So moving forward, if you want to get in the best shape of your life, you have to ask yourself, who do I have to be starting today to get there? And that might be someone who is committed and consistent to working out 3 or 4 times a week or every single day. I am the type of person that starts my day with protein, or I'm the type of person that goes for a walk for 30 minutes every single day, whatever that might be. But you have to really think it. You have to see yourself in a different lens. I've talked about this before, but I was never a morning person because I looked at the morning, like getting up early, like 5 a.m. as like this thing that I had to do. So if we look at the be, do, have process there, I was so focused on doing that I wasn't focused on being. And after years of doing this, so like getting up early some days, sleeping on other days, I started to have a shift in my mind. And that shift was a story that I basically told myself and sold myself, which was successful people get up before the sun. And I'm a successful person, or I want to be a successful person. Therefore, that's what I'm going to do. I changed my self-identity. And as a result of seeing myself differently, I never even had a question getting up early anymore, in the morning anymore. It was just, this is who I am. And therefore, this is what I do. But without focusing on the self-identity piece, and we're always focused on the doing, it never creates lasting change, because a lot of times we're changing behaviors without changing who we are. And there's been a lot of research and books written on this, whether it's Atomic Habits by James Clear or anyone else, that talk about if we want lasting habit change, it doesn't start with the habits, it starts with the self-identity. Who, the being, we need to become in order to do the things that that person would do, and as a result, we'll have those things. So when it comes to conviction, the conviction in this context is just being somebody who is delusionally convicted that what it is you want in life, it's already coming. Like you are that person already. If you want to be a millionaire, if you want to have $1 million, you don't go from thinking like a broke person to making $1 million. You become the millionaire first, and then the money shows itself. You become a fit individual even while you're fat. And eventually you change your habits, and therefore the outcomes appear. So it's about being who you want to be in the future, starting today. I often tell my clients, if you want to attract more clients, you have to look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I the client that I want to attract? If people are telling you it's too expensive to working with you, what are you saying when it comes to investing in your own business? Are you looking at things and saying, there's no way I could afford that, or that's too expensive? Because if you are that energy, you will attract that. And until you change that self-identity, then you're not going to see anything different in reality. So conviction is that second piece. And the conviction is really important because doubt slows everything just like a lack of clarity does. So again, we want to move from where we are to where we want to go. We want to get clear because the clearer we are, the faster we'll go. We want to have conviction because the more conviction we have, the more action we will take. And the more action we take, the closer we're going to get to our goals. And the third C is consistency. I think we all know that No one's getting in amazing shape by working out once a month. It's what you do on a daily basis that creates lasting results. You don't have to work out 7 days a week to get in great shape, but you also can't work out once a week and expect things to change. So what are the daily things that you can do to be consistent? Maybe it's working out 3 or 4 times a week, but at the minimum baseline, you're walking 10,000 steps every single day. Every single day, you're having 30 grams of protein first thing in the morning, or every single day, you're going to bed at 9:30 and waking up at 6 the next morning. You build the consistency in these different areas, no matter what. From a business perspective, one of the things that we advise our clients to do on a daily basis is add value to their audience. Send an email, post something online, like a piece of content every single day, because it's not that one piece of content is going to make your business take off. It's the consistency that is going to show the world that you're serious about how you're showing up, especially in business. People need reassurance that you're going to be around for a while. When you don't post, as an example, when you don't run ads or you don't create content and post it regularly, people don't even know you exist. And it doesn't matter how good you are if no one knows who you are. And then they occasionally see something from you and they're like, who is this person again? Versus if they see your stuff every single day over and over and over again, even if it's going to annoy some people, who cares? The fact that you're visible taps into a psychological bias called the mere exposure effect. The mere exposure effect tells us that humans value things that we see more often. This has been shown in presidential races. Candidates who spend the most money on ads, who get the most exposure, win the presidential election. It's been shown cause and effect in multiple studies. So in business, if you want better results, you have to be more consistent in terms of your output putting stuff out into the market to be more valuable. You're not going to get anywhere great by sending one email to your list once a month. Be consistent in everything you do. If you want to get better at selling, practice your selling skills every single day. If my kids, they want to get better at soccer, I'm like, guys, you have practiced twice a week in a game, awesome. But you also have every single day of your life to work on something. Every single day, go outside 30 minutes and just work on your skills. Work on your first touch, your second touch, dribble the ball a little bit, right? All of these things are within our control. If we chunk up from a consistency perspective, one of the things that I'd strongly recommend that's been part of my process has been reviewing my goals every single day. It's one thing to write down what you want, but if we're not reminded of it over and over again, it's very easy to lose sight of it. And so in step number 1 with clarity, we talked about getting clear about what it is you want, why you want it. We map that stuff out, right? Think about those as your goals. In step 2, we started talking about who do I have to become to be that person who's going to start to embody and live those things. And we started doing that today as opposed to waiting at some point in the future. And in step 3, consistency, it's about doing that consistently. So all of these things we've talked about, all that stuff can be done consistently, but at a very basic level, just review your goals every single day. First thing in the morning, instead of looking at your phone and other people's vision, other people's lives, look at your own life. Here are the top 10 things I want to create in my life over the next 12 months. Just review them every single day, every single morning. Close your eyes, visualize them, see them as if they're already here and as they're already real. Here's the cool thing is the more you reinforce this as real, the more you build the conviction. And so these 3 aspects, clarity, conviction, and consistency, they become this self-perpetuating cycle where if you're very clear what you want, you have the conviction and you repeat it to yourself or you do this stuff consistently, it's all self-reinforcing. And so with consistency, I'll just give you one example of how this showed up in my life. Is a number of years ago, I went on a 6-hour supercar drive with a friend of mine. We were able to drive 6 supercars over 6 hours, so we had 1 hour per supercar. And we finished on a McLaren 570S. Now, at the time, I didn't know what a McLaren was. But when we got in that car, we looked at each other like, oh my God, this thing is a rocket ship. And so we spent an hour to finish the day on that car. And we were both just so blown away by the unbelievable driving experience that it was. We finished, we got out, and I told him, I'm like, hey man, I'm going to buy this car. I got clarity on what I wanted. 2, I just knew. Because now, here's the thing, is I was in the car. I had lived the experience. That builds conviction, right? It's like that practice. Put yourself in the space. Walk through the house. Take the car for a test drive. Walk through the neighborhood, whatever it is. So I had driven the car. I had conviction. I could get into the feeling. And so there I left and I started to journal out exactly what I wanted. I got clear on the specs of the car, the paint, the whole package. And every single day for the next year, I wrote down every morning. I was literally journaling to myself. I had the goal, but I would write it as if it was already here, right? I'm so pumped to get in my garage, get in my 570S, storm gray, not rip it out of the driveway, drive it out of the driveway, and I could see myself driving to Starbucks or taking a long drive or whatever it was. And the cool thing is, as I'm writing this down, I'm feeling this. I'm not just cerebral. I'm feeling this because I'd been in the car. I could feel it. And every single day I wrote a page of what it was like to have this car. And so I did that for about a year. Now that sounds like a long time, but the reality is I didn't want to settle for something I didn't want. So I knew exactly I wanted a 570S storm gray with this spec package, the whole bit. And then one day I ended up doing a quick search on Kijiji. I'm like, McLaren 570S for sale, Toronto. Lo and behold, I see this listing on Kijiji. Of all places, who sells a supercar on Kijiji? I thought it was a toy car at first, but then I look at the listing and I'm like, oh my God, my car, the one I had literally ordered to the universe, from the universe, was right there. Contact the owner right away, go see it the next day, ends up working out. Exactly the car that I wanted. Same color, same package, everything. I had literally created out of an idea in my head. But that probably wouldn't have happened if I had thought about it once and then just never thought about it again. I was relentless in my consistency with what I wanted, and I constantly was grooving these pathways in my nervous system and brain around this is what I want, nonstop, over and over and over again. You have to be obsessed with creating the life that you want. Average people don't create spectacular things. Obsessed people do, and it's totally okay to have a healthy obsession. Wanting to get in great shape requires a level of obsession. Like you care about yourself enough to take this seriously. Building an amazing business, it's the same thing. So this happened with the McLaren. It also happened with our dream house that we ended up building in Mexico. My wife and I, for the longest time, wanted to live on the ocean. We'd been to this one spot in Mexico about 15 times in our lives. And then out of the blue, we see this YouTube video and we're like, that's being built here? What? We didn't even know this development existed because it was on the other side of the hill that you wouldn't see from the town because it was facing the Pacific Ocean. Right away, we contact the developers. We buy the lot, the best lot in the whole development, like sight unseen, during COVID over Zoom. And over the next 2 years, we start working with some amazing architects. They build the whole thing. And this whole thing comes to, it comes into existence because I was clear from a long time ago, what I wanted my life to be like. I wanted these things. I wanted these experiences. And I would consistently journal about them. I'd consistently review the vision boards and the goals that I had set for myself. And when you have that level of consistency, it feeds the conviction. And that conviction energetically tells the universe that, all right, we're on the same wavelength. We're going to start bringing that stuff in. And at the same time, the conviction gives you the juice to take the action. Because it's not just about sitting back and kumbaya. It's you have to align your energy with what you want. And then also you have to do stuff. And so when you have this conviction and this consistency and the clarity, it's like a lock. It's like the combination to a vault. It just, boom, cracks it open and everything you want is on the inside. So I share this with you after having lived this life for 20 plus years of building, my own businesses and helping thousands of others. And on the backside of that is just really creating a beautiful quality of life. That's, to be honest, I'm just getting started. I'm 45 years old as of this video, and my best years are in front of me. That's something I know for sure. So I'm hoping that from this video, these 3 C's, you can take into your life in some way, shape, or form. Now, to finish things off, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel because I've got hundreds of other videos to help you build an amazing business and a better quality of life. And if you are a health professional, if you're a therapist, if you're a coach, and you're wanting to grow your coaching business, and you want to see how we do this with thousands of your colleagues so they can scale to 6, 7, and even 8 figures without the grind or the guesswork, then you're going to want to check out the next video called The $1 Million Health Coaching Roadmap. If you're a health expert, this is for you. If you're not, don't even bother. Just enjoy what we've talked about today. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.